What's up, everybody? It's your girl Erica from the Classy Con blog. Coming to you guys today from my phone in my office. Listen, we improvise and we keep it moving. All right, so listen, we're talking about business credit and credit today. Bring in and drop your comments, drop your questions. I know you guys have plenty for the show. Listen, let's try that again. Dave, introduce yourself from Diamond Cut Media on social media. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
We're primarily a funding company, and what I like to say is a funding prep company, because, and I'll explain that position. Most people are not in a position to do funding the way they think they are, and what we do is help people get in position to actually get funding the best way they can, and the best way we know how from a real life banking standpoint, not just theory or just kind of throwing stuff against the wall and see if it sticks. We actually try to help people and put people in the position to where they can maximize the actual funding they can get for themselves through education. And we also help, if your credit's not there, we help you get your credit there so that you can get to the place where you can do the funding you want to do and so on and so forth. So we offer a lot of different stuff, services, as far as funding, and a little bit on the real estate funding side as well.
So a lot of my questions that I get from the channel is, credit this, credit that, because I have like probably 150 videos on credit when I did a partnership with the credit company. And, people kept telling me, hey. And something I noticed recently is when I go into Facebook groups on credit, a lot of what I'm seeing is people who couldn't handle it, right? Hey, I've got $17,000 on Navy Federal. How can I get it down across these 4 cards? Should I file for bankruptcy? Should I consolidate? And 9 times out of 10 in the comments, I'm just like, pay your bill. Pay your bill. Pay minimums, whatever, right? And a lot of people think credit is going to be the snap your finger, new life, new opportunity to go off and run up the bill. So you should see some of that as well, because there was like a season of 2 years where everybody's talking about food credit. And I think what happened is they got there and realized this isn't going to be easy without me cleaning up my personal credit.
Yes. There's a misconception that somehow business credit overrides your personal credit, and that is completely, here's how that really works, right? So let's say you're Apple, right? Let's say you're Steve Jobs in his day, God bless him. Let's say you're going to apply for a loan for Apple. Okay, Steve Jobs' credit is not going to be an important factor, okay, because Apple is large enough to stand on its own. It really comes down to liability. Who is liable? Who would be liable, and which assets do they have? What assets do they have to protect the interests of the bank or the lender? So if they make the business liable, is it more advantageous for them to do that? Because does that business have more assets than the person? So it needs to be more advantageous for the business to hold the liability rather than you. The difference is when people start their business, they don't have assets like that. You may not have assets for a long time. And some businesses don't require that you hold a lot of assets. So in those cases, what sense does it make if most of your assets are essentially you, even if they're in a business account? If it's essentially you, then it might as well just go after you. So banking comes down to, I think, to logic. It comes to like logic and law. If it makes more sense for them to go after the business, they go after that. If it makes more sense for them to go after you, they go after that. And that is what makes more sense about 99% of the time. Yeah. So
American will come after you. American Express coming after you. There's certain banks and certain credit cards that just like, oh well, but no, American Express, they coming for you, okay? Because, and here's the thing, I really want this to be very clear to everybody in here. You can't get over the make more income mantra. And really, when people talk about business credit, they're talking about companies that make 2 to 3 million. Because until you make about 2 to 3 million, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It falls back to you. A lot of solo entrepreneurs can make up to 250K. And I'm talking about plumbers, electricians, all these people, they can do it by themselves. But if you fall down, then the business falls down. When you start talking about companies that make 2, 3, 4 million, You're not talking about a one-man show, one-woman show unless they have employees. And then that business earns the respect of having 2 or 3 men on the income sheet a year to have different conversations.
Right. I like to actually break this down to a little acronym that I made up to try to explain what you just said, basically, which is relationships, revenue, and collateral. Relationships, revenue, collateral. And then for those who, because a lot of people ask about, oh, no PG, no PG. I say, okay, look, no PG, huh? Relationships, revenue, collateral equals no PG. I try to basically break it down in that way, because, like you said, you need to have the revenue to actually warrant them considering your business credit to that degree. And yeah, that's 100% true. Some people, I've seen 5 million is another good number for that kind of stuff to be considered. 2, 3 million, 5 million, even 10 million. These are different categories, but 10 million plus, that's where Dun and Bradstreet really starts to kick in as far as, I know people throw Dun and Bradstreet around a lot. Dun and Bradstreet is more like a government contracting and international contracting bureau, and high revenue bureau, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So the real business credit, small business credit bureaus would be more so like Equifax, Experian, those types of accounts. But yeah.
So part of what I tell people is there's a hierarchy. A lot of people are trying to tell you that, oh yeah, I can do an e-commerce business and they'll make a lot of money. I'm telling you, as a person who deals in different types of businesses, inventory matters. Where your business is located matters. Your staffing matters. And the reason people get frustrated in trucking because trucks cost so much, but also when you turn around, if you need collateral, first thing they do is ask for that truck because it's worth 30K. And they're going to get their money, right? And they can get that 30K loan for replacement of the truck. Same thing when it goes to construction, roofing. You start talking to some of those people, the first thing they ask is, hey, do you guys have invoices receivable? Right? It's not just people to sell online, invoice receivable. And so a lot of times what people don't understand is they're trying to predict the future of the business. So even in trucking, they'll ask you, do you have contracts? Do you have lanes that you're already secured? Do you have, like, for example, I was I'm still working on it, getting foreign drivers who get a 3-year contract to come in America. So now banks are like, oh, you got a 3-year contract with a driver? Because they know drivers are the most fickle part of the whole equation. So different conversation, for sure. And for people who don't know PG, it's personal guarantee. They want to hear you say it because people are special.
I'm sorry, yeah. PG means personal guarantee. That just means in event of a default, the bank will come after you. And that does not mean, and this is where people get confused. So I'm glad you brought that up. It does not mean that it reports on your personal credit per se. A lot of people get, well, I don't want to report to my personal credit. No one said that. It just means that it's going to be on the business side, but if you default, so if you plan on not paying them back, there's going to be issues with that. Also, kind of want to harp on what you're saying. I remember a deal. You're 100% right. I remember a trucking deal we did, and first thing, how many trucks are on the business? We want a list of all the trucks, all the assets, everything. And there's an issue because the gentleman he outsourced all his trucks basically. So it kind of, even though it's good, it's like less risk from a business standpoint. It kind of didn't help when he needed financing, because it would have been much easier to have all that collateral on the business. So depending on what somebody wants to do, that determines how you want to structure your business. Depends on what's important to you, whether it's risk, taxes, funding. You kind of have to decide what you're going to do a few years in advance, so that you kind of already understand the pitfalls that are coming. on either end, because there could be other problems where taxes could be a thing you're trying to mitigate, or you're trying to, if you maximize funding, you got to pay a lot of taxes. So
Listen, people try to get I made $1 million, but then they write off everything so they left 35,000 left on books. Even if it's important, I'm telling you that. And people are like, oh, Ericka, what do you know? Listen, I'm trying to buy people's businesses. I literally go to the bank and they go, girl, their EBITDA is so low. What you want me to prove them for? And even if it's earnings, interest, everything, after basically you made a mill. What is at the end of the day that you pay for it? And a lot of people have been told incorrectly, like just write everything off, and then you can keep your business, get all this tax refunds or pay less taxes. But it kills your business for when you want to go get loans. It kills it.
Yeah. What I try to do is I use the mortgage example. Mortgage, of course, as you know, the underwriting is way easier, but the concept is the same. The concept is, I know I want to get a big house, and you want your wife to, you want to show out. Fine, you paying taxes that year. You got to claim as much as you can, and you're for that year you are a doctor, a lawyer, you are a titan that year, because you want to get the biggest house. Business funding is no different. If you want to get financing for your business, just plan out 2-3 years in advance. Go ahead and plan out 2-3 years in advance. Say, hey, I'm going to claim, really good profit, and I'm going to take the hit on these taxes because I need to get funding. I know funding is going to be a priority. So you have to decide what's going to be a priority to you. If you write it all off, you're going to have to use, there are ways to get funding, but you're going to have to use unconventional methods, and it's going to be different than you think, and it's going to take time, and it's not going to be immediate. It's going to take time, and you're going to have to do those methods over a sequence or series of time, and that's stuff that we do as well.
Someone said they write off everything, including the toilet tissue. I'm telling you, they do. They go overboard. Everything, every meal, every dollar, every dime, and what cracks me up about this when I try to talk to people about this is what you pay on those taxes is truly what somebody's willing to lend you.
Right.
Because they don't want to overload you with debt. That's not the job of the banker. That's not the job. And another thing that gets people really caught up is MCAs, which is merchant cash advances. They really aren't legal, but they are, because they give the person a guarantee them. And what they do is say, well, your business is making, $150 every day. Well, we'll give you $100 a day times 30 or something, right? So they're going to lend you this $3,000, but they're also going to draft from you the $100 a day. So your business has to keep making money. And this is how a lot of people in e-commerce get trapped. This is how I go in masterminds and see guys who, I had a Shopify store and I made all this money, but I had this merchant cash loan. It's the worst. MCAs are the absolute worst.
Yeah, all that stuff. MCAs. There's a lot of little short-term stated products like that. Invoice financing. Anything that's based on invoice or a bank statement. Let's just call it like that. You gotta watch out. You gotta be willing to pay every day, kind of like how you were explaining. So the other ways to do this, if you don't want to pay taxes, other ways to try to pull that off are building up. You can build up lines of credit over time on a business, on personal, whatever, but preferably on a business, right? So if you need to float $100,000, you can do it without it touching your personal, as long as you're servicing the debt. Those kind of things you have to build up over time. There's also other ways to do that a little bit quicker. But there's ways to. The key with that is your personal profile has to be built. Your personal profile has to be constructed well. And so a lot of the times what we'll do is we'll get people there. Like one of my programs that I've been silently running on the back end, that's exactly what we do. Get your personal credit restructured, and we fund And then at that, because if you're going to restructure it naturally, which is what we do, if you're going to restructure it legitimately, then funding is a part of that. If you're going to be building a credit profile legitimately, funding is by default. And because we're not just tossing lines of credit that are illegitimate on the profile, that doesn't work anyway, especially not business funding. So you actually have to build a legitimate profile, and then you can capitalize on that legitimate profile, both on the personal and the business. That's the program that we really do. And it's active right now, but just haven't been advertising it until March. We're gonna start advertising more of that in March, but that's what you really do. You have to look at it from a true to life point of view and take the time and take the steps to actually do it. But if your funding is going to be a number one priority, and you know that your business is going to need financing, you know your business is going to need capital, and you want to maximize that, you have to pay. If you want to maximize, you're going to have to pay. It's the easiest way.
So part of, sorry, I was not hearing. Part of what I'm trying to get people to understand is they see a lot of young people out here getting Point City, and traveling, what's up? I'm going out here, I'm doing all these things. But they're not understanding that those people are 19 and 20 years old. We're going to answer in a second. Those people are 19 and 20 years old, ain't really nothing on their credit. So you're starting from scratch. And so sometimes it's easier for them to start with certain credit cards or start building up their credit profile than someone who's 35, 40, 50, 60 years old with lots of history. If you already have an 800 credit score, what can you do to capitalize on it and make more income / money? Apologize for this basic question. Thank you.
If you already have an 800 credit score, then okay, it's not about, I will say this, I'm sure Ericka will agree with me on this. It's more about the system than the funding per se. Mm-hmm. So this is how I look at it. This is why in mathematics we learn like algebra and calculus and stuff, because each time we plug in a number into a function that's positive, it's going to give us a positive number on the other side. If you plug in a number into a function that's negative, it's going to give you a negative number. So what does that mean? It means that the system that you already have running for your business, the system needs to already be working. If the system is working, then you can leverage credit by getting lines of credit or loans and then plugging in more capital into that system that already works to get more money, as far as that will take you until you need to change it. Okay. So that's really, it doesn't come down to the credit making you more money. It comes down to your strategy making you more money. It comes down to the strategy and the marketing or whatever that you already have in place, the function itself. That's what makes you the money. And so when you have that already set up and you plug in money into it, now you're off to the races. So I would focus on the strategy first and then plug in and then capitalize on that 800 second. A lot of people have it reversed. They think money's going to solve all their problems. Money adds fuel to the fire for good things, and it destroys you even more if you use it for the wrong things. Yeah. So that's the truth about it. So even though what we do is funding and credit and stuff, I like I said before, we operate from a standpoint of reality and truth. So the truth and the reality is you need to already have the strategy and the fundamentals and the technique to be able to execute properly before you should even be getting financing or before you use it. Because you can get lines of credit and just have them there, but you don't need to touch those till you know what you're doing. And that's the problem. It's like giving little kids candy. They got all the Starburst in front of them, and they know they're not supposed to be eating that Starburst, until they finish up. But they start eating them anyway. That's how people act with money. They start eating the Starburst anyway and taking the lines of credit, taking the loans before they finish their food. Finish your plate.
So I was gonna say, he said so thank you for the question. I was gonna say that my friend Lane came on and he has a little course about e-trades and basically, making money off your trade line. So Xanthos starts looking for that, but also Diamond Dave, you know, really people miss that whole thing. I'm gonna break it back a little bit. You guys have the system you want to finance, and you're in a better position Xanthos Quest than a lot of people. If you've already got the cards and you're not like in debt to your eyeballs, you can choose a pathway as long as you have a system. Again, the other day video, I mean, talking about access systems credit. Do you have access to the people that help educate you on the system? Do you have the system? Literally, a lot of people, the reason so many people quit some of these companies is they forget that business is seasonal, right? And I've talked about this a million times, like January to April, quarter one, quarter two, quarter three. What kind of business are you investing in? And does it have seasons? And then what prime example, Tim Jackson from Dallas said he bought a truck in December. Nobody told him that was the worst time because all the drivers are like, I'm gonna be home with my family. I'm not gonna be wrecking and messing up my driver's license. I'll see you in January, February. And so, if you have money, you have money, you get into a system, but you get into the wrong time, you can really mess yourself up. So again, we have your link, and I'll put it in the description and in the chat when this is over. But most people, if they reach out to you, they can get a consulting package. They can do what?
When they reach out, yes, that's one of the things. So the consulting nowadays is, I do individual one-offs, but I also do classes, and those are usually on Friday or Saturday. And those classes are based on restructuring and funding in a sequence that you can repeat. So meaning, if you use it once, great, you can use it again. And you can use it again. So you can use it as much as you need to scale yourself up. So you can take yourself from, it's funny because it was designed for a blank profile. But then I started thinking about it. And I was like, I might as well just use this for anybody whose credit is, even if it's good, if it's not completely maximized. So that's where that was born. So you could take yourself from a blank to 100. To 200, to 300, to 400, just because you can repeat it in the sequence. But you gotta, the thing about it with that is people have to listen to and actually do what I'm directing to do it. But it is completely, and if you think about it, like I said before, we're not manufacturing. There's nothing that we're just throwing on your profile. No, you have to go do the work. That is set out, and when you do that work, you get the result. So we do that. We also do service. Like, and if somebody already has everything going on and they need funding, yeah. If somebody is already knee deep in real estate investing and they want to get a line of credit, they want to get a few $1 million, that kind of stuff. Yep. If they have credit issues, need to get the credit taken care of, we do that too. So it really just anything along the lines of funding and credit. But yeah, that main program, we're definitely just going to get into education, because you guys, it's better to just go get 6 figures in funding on your own just by the education without me taking a back-end fee, unless you want me to take a back-end fee. Well, just go. You can go do this for yourself, so you don't have to ask any more questions. You don't have to ask questions over and over about, how do I get this? You'll understand how to go get the money.
Right.
So the part that's going to be up to you is the strategy part, and we can talk about that too, because every once in a while I still do consult on strategy and marketing stuff, because that's people don't put a priority on that, but that is so important. But nobody puts priority on it. They think that the money's going to solve all the issues.
So what do you think is the most, what stops people the most? Is it they're not patient? Is it old stuff on their credit? What is it? They don't have a good strategy? Which one is it?
All of it. But I would say the first and foremost is they're not patient. Because here's why. In anything else in life, people understand that you need to be patient. When you learn anything else in life, or you're trying to do anything else, for some reason, and I don't know, it's because of the stuff that goes on online. nowadays. But for some reason, people think that credit and funding and stuff is going to be immediate, and everything else is going to have to take time. And you're talking about taking hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars from people. It's not immediate. It takes time. And so what happens is all the other stuff you said comes next. So because they don't want to take the time, they don't want to make the commitment, then they don't have the strategy. Then they don't have the credit. So then it just reverses all the way back. So you, at some point in life, you have to make the commitment. And a lot of our business comes from people are like, I don't want to do that, and they go away, right? Then they get screwed. They get screwed for thousands of dollars. They have all the different scams that are out there, and then they come back like, all right, Dave, what was it again? Or
all that. You're right. They save themselves some time.
Yeah. And the funny thing is that program I spoke of, that's a 9-month program. And that's not that 9 months to 9 to 12 months ain't too bad, because really you're supposed to season credit items on your credit for like 2 years at least. 2 years at least you're supposed to be seasoning items on your credit. So I can take you to a position where we can come up with something unique where it's only going to be nine months. I mean, that's crazy. And then you're funding month 7. That's crazy. You're actually funding.
Like right now, what is it? It's February, March, April, May, June, July, September, October, November, in time for Christmas, in time for quarter 4, at least the end of it.
Before November, you're in there, and otherwise you go off and try everything in the book and learn the hard way. All the stuff that I've been there.
Yeah. Try to jump ahead.
I've been, so instead of going through all that pain and wasting all that money trying to go through the things the hard way, you just go through the calculated, easy way. You're like, and you come out $100,000, $200,000 ahead. I think that makes more sense to me.
So there's one person, Tanya, sorry, I see the question. If you have a business that has been sitting for the last 5 years and I want to go ahead and start using it now, is that okay?
Do you have finance? Okay. The answer is no. Sure.
You do it. Go ahead.
Ericka already knew what I was going to say, but so the short answer is no, and here's why. Right? It's not just about, banks are not lending just because of the age of the business. I don't know. A lot of these things get passed around. It's crazy, but age is in tandem with what? Everything has to be taken in context. Age with money going through that bank for 5 years. Age with legitimate business practices being practiced for 5 years. Age with tons of proof behind that. Age with tax returns behind it. Age with so it's not just age, it's age in context of a complete business. What's a better way of looking at it is this. If you guys want to try to cut the line as far as business financing and whatnot, and you try to use I don't advise people to use shelf corps. Everything that you saw in on YouTube and pass around on Instagram and stuff, talking about shelf corps and doing stuff overnight and all this kind of stuff, is all lies. Just consider it a lie, and then say, okay, since I know that that's a lie, what's the real way I should do this? Here's the real way. If you want to try to fast track and you want to get financing from a seasoned business, buy a business. Buy an actual business and then use that business to get financing. You literally should go to one of those sites. In San Diego, we have a site called sdhotlist.com. And check this out, Ericka. Guess what businesses go the fastest? Because I'll just look at it from time to time, because and guess what businesses go real quick?
Laundromats or e-commerce?
Those can go quickly, but tax businesses, and for a lot of money. Tax, they will never fail. Somebody buy a tax business from you in 3.5 seconds. And it's pretty amazing to see how fast those go, because people know they're not going to fail. Everybody has to pay taxes. And even if you don't for a few years, they'll come up to you, they'll catch you, and they'll be like, "Oh, you're gonna pay these taxes, or you're gonna go to jail." And you're like, "All right, then." So because people know that, those are one of the quick. I always see those go so fast. But yeah, basic idea: buy a business, and then use that business to get financing because that business already has a real business on it. That corporation already has a real business behind it, and that's how you're actually going to be able to secure the financing you want. Otherwise, you're going to have to get creative and participate in some of the other techniques and strategies and stuff like the stuff that we do or whoever else is out there being legitimate. And I don't really think there's too.
I'm going to say, time you're young, if you had the business for 5 years, have you had a business bank account for 5 years? Because the day you started that business bank account is the day you had a business. And I'm telling you, I've seen people run flea market shops and online stuff, and they got a business bank account at the last minute after it really started making money. And they're like, oh, we count June 2019 is the date, or we count June 2020 is the date. But I've been doing this for 5 years. Yeah, you ran it through your personal account, so that could have been anything. I've literally seen people, I've worked with people, and the number one advice that I will tell y'all on this channel over and over again, get a business bank account. Put your money, the money you make in your business, put it in there, and write yourself a check if you're going to be an employee of that business. That's all I can say. I mean, that 2 parts right there will save a lot of y'all time, headache, and trust.
Yeah, I just had a client in one of my classes, and they have been running everything through their name. I mean, successful, running everything through the name. And I was like, it's crazy, but it exists.
It's all for naught. Like, I mean, essentially you can attribute it to that business, but I mean, even I didn't have to talk to a tax attorney at that point because they're probably still that's gonna be just on you, personal, not even business. No deductions, no nothing. That's just all personal.
Right.
Oh my God.
Crazy stuff.
Ty Little said, what are the fundamentals? The strategy to gain business credit, is it lines of credit? Or is it like a series of things?
I won't say what the exact strategy is.
You can go get
but when you go out there, I'll say this though, when you go out there, understand that credit profiles are evaluated from like a whole standpoint. So you actually want both things on your credit file. You want loans, you want lines of credit. You don't just want lines of credit.
Okay, so I'm gonna give a little hypothetical thing that's very popularly classed in Facebook groups. Hey, what if I just buy an e-commerce business that's got a lot of transactions? Can I get business credit faster with that e-commerce business? I don't know if you notice a lot of the Amazon FBA people have been selling that one like, hey, you can buy this e-commerce business and turn around and get a bunch of business credit.
I think, okay, I haven't encountered that, but I'll say this, just from an application standpoint. That part of the application when it says how long have you run the business, I think where you're on there, that could be an issue. You also need to do your due diligence. What would you have to say to that, Ericka?
I keep telling people what happens is when you get into the bank, they're gonna say is the same owner on the business as previous years.
Right.
And that's correct. He's purchased this business. So it has a lot of transactions, but what's going to get you stuck is you're going to be stuck in MCA world, which is merchant cash advance world. If that's the angle you want to play with anybody, a merchant cash advance person is going to go, what's the last 3 months? This is the best way I can explain it to you. If you do that, which I know a couple people have done that, they're going to go, what's the past 3 months? Now, if you're smart, you bought that business in October, November, December during quarter 4. Mm-hmm. Now the merchant cash advance person goes, whoa, you're making a killing. Hey, we're going to give you $40K, but we're going to deduct every day from your bank account because that is the point of a merchant cash advance. They're going to deduct every day. So you're running the risk of getting a $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 lump sum that is going to be deducted every day from your business. So what are you trying to do with that $60K that's going to produce lots of income? That makes sense, everybody in the chat? Put one in the comments if this information has been helpful for you or useful. Drop a one in the chat so I know that we're all rocking together. And Diamond and Dave, Mr. Dave Diamond. I have a Diamond Dave that comes on, and I have a Dave Diamond.
Really? That's funny.
Yeah, he came on while you've been gone. You're in San Diego, correct?
I am.
What are some of the things that's hitting California?
Taxes. Taxes. But I'll tell you what, most of my clients are not in California. Most of my clients are outside of California. Because, especially out of San Diego, because San Diego, most of my clientele is Black Americans, or some type of African descent, and most Black people who are successful are not in San Diego. Most Black people who are successful are in Texas or Atlanta or Maryland or those types of areas where you have these big pockets of successful Black people.
Yeah.
And so it's rare. It's rare I encounter, like a local. That is rare. I see people walking down the street. San Diego is a vacation and military town. So yeah, so a little bit of college, military, retirement, and vacation. And so, and not a lot of, not a really large Black population, really low. But I mean, I was looking for exactly what you were saying on this funding application, so people can see that they're going to ask you how long you have owned the business, and that makes a big difference. But yeah, so answer really, I don't really work with too many California and San Diego people. Everybody's out of state.
That's also the power of business now. You can do anything on the internet. Another thing is, what's crazy is you're 100% right about the tax businesses, because every day I go on Instagram, YouTube, somebody tag somebody like, Ericka, you ever know this person? Do you know this person? Is this person legit? I'm like, who is this? And it'll be somebody with 100,000, 200,000 followers. They'll have a credit repair business and a tax business. And I'll be like, I never heard of them a day in my life. But they got testimonials and people following them, apparently so, right? So this one guy, y'all may know what I'm talking about, in Atlanta, charges like $5,000 for his program. Well, I just ran into somebody the other day, Hispanic out of Florida, charges $10,000 for their program. So for me, when people say, oh, nobody got no money out here, oh, people got money. They got money. They choose where they want to put it. Okay, that's all that is.
In California, there's kind of to touch on California about the tax thing, there's been a mass exodus of people kind of leaving California as well, and coming to Georgia and Texas. And that's why y'all property values are going up, because you have a lot of people from California and New York leaving and going to Texas, Florida, and Georgia. And so I've seen the property values jump up as well. Like, I mean, quickly.
I always try to explain to people like this. I'm in Austin, Texas. If you travel across Texas, you got swamp in Houston, you got desert out west, and Austin has aquifers where water comes fresh from the ground, out of the ground, all over the whole place, hill country. It's a beautiful location. So you already had a location that, one, has a lot of natural preserve we can't build on, and two, they never built the road or the city for this growth. So three, you're going to have crazy prices, right? In 5 years, the average house in Austin was $244. Now an average house is $400,000. To this day, if I knew what I knew now, I'd have bought in Georgetown and in Austin, like 7 years ago. So one thing Tanya said, but can't you go back and make addendums on taxes after you buy the house? I think you mean after you buy them.
Go ahead. Yeah, you can.
But they're going to run into the issue of bank statements.
Yes, you run into the issue of bank statements. You also run the issue of possibly getting audited. That's something that you don't want to go through that. So, I mean, you have to be willing to take that risk of possibly getting audited, and then you run into the issue of bank statements as well.
Okay, so then Lemon Grove in South San Diego is pretty black. They just don't make a lot of money. Is that a place?
I lived in Southeast San Diego, and
Lemon Grove.
Lemon Grove is close to Southeast San Diego. Lemon Grove is technically East County, but it's right next to Skyline if you keep going down the street. So yeah. We don't have pockets where it's affluent Black people. Like in the closest we have in Southern California would be in Los Angeles, which is where like Ladera Heights, Baldwin Hills, Windsor Hills, those types of areas where there's affluent Black people like in a pocket. We don't have that in San Diego. We have Black people that don't have no, like they said, we have Black people that don't have no money in a pocket. So we don't have that same demographic, and so that's why it's weird. My clients that are in Southern California are in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm. I love they look. Somebody is from San Diego. They're like Four Corners by Green Cat, and I'm like, what?
Four Corners by Green Cat. That's over there by Euclid. That's where my cousin grew up. I lived in La Presa and also on Springfair Avenue in San Diego, California, right there by the police station. So yeah, I know what they're talking about, Four Corners and all this stuff. That's hilarious. So you got some real San Diego people in here, huh?
I know, that's why I tell you, it's like my number one is New York. My number one clients are from New York. Number two is from California, Concord, Sunnyvale, Los Angeles. Number three is, I don't want to lie, Ohio. Number four is like Florida. Number five is like Georgia. Number six is Alabama. I'm mixing them up, but I know my numbers enough. The first three is New York, California, Ohio, where people buy stuff from me. So it's kind of funny to see y'all there, because I was like, I've been to San Diego. Where were y'all at? I could have visited y'all. Okay, so someone said business credit card offers in the USPS. Should I apply?
Yes.
I don't know.
I'll say, if you don't mind taking the inquiry, yeah, go ahead, because they ain't offering business credit cards to everybody right now. That stuff's just now starting to be, I guess, a little bit. They're just maybe being a little bit more lenient, but that's been cut down compared to where it used to be. It used to be real easy.
Yeah.
Now it's been they're being a little bit more strict on that end.
Someone asked in the chat, do you do credit repair? And I want you to answer like the system that you do.
We're not gonna say the whole system, but we
like the offer. What do you offer?
So here's how to look at it. Here's how it goes. No matter how you come in with us, we can take you. The difference is it changes where you start. So if your credit is already A1, let's say, and your business is on fire, then yeah, you're just going to go straight into the funding services and all that kind of stuff. Now, if let's say you started from a blank slate, credit's messed up, don't have much on there either. Okay, after it's going to get cleaned up. Okay, so that means that you have to go through credit repair, then you rebuild and you fund, and then you go off to the business side. If your credit is good, let's say you have a 750, but you don't have a lot of lines of credit. You have maybe a couple credit cards and a car on there, or you have some authorized users, something that's going to be irrelevant. Then you need to rebuild and fund. So that's what that program is for. And so that will put you in a position where not only do you have tons of funding, but you're going to be able to fund on the business side now because your profile warrants it. Your profile is warranted.
Okay, so people, let's say someone's getting ready just now to start a business and they want to come work with you. Would it be easier to fund their personal or their business first? Because it's going to take some time.
Personal is always easier. And so what you want to do is you have to understand this. People have to stop separating the two. The reality is your personal credit is your business credit. That's how I like to look at it. I did some talks I found an old whiteboard, and I did some talks on it that I'm going to be putting out on Instagram and YouTube next week, and trying to explain this kind of stuff. Your personal credit is your business credit, because they're going to evaluate the structure. Notice I didn't say just score. The structure of your personal credit to make decisions on what they can offer you on the business side. So it's not like, now when that, like how me and Ericka were talking about earlier, when your business is established and everything is going and your personal is in order, yeah, then business credit is a factor. But business credit is a function of your personal credit. So we have to make sure that the personal is maximized perfectly, because we understand that is the basis.
I'm telling y'all, I'm not just talking. I brought him on because I kept running into clients on the phone and even in my personal life, where I'm telling people, you go to the bank and they're like, oh, what's going on in your personal? And the person's like, but my business made all this money, Eric. And I'm like, yes, but until your business makes like 2-3 million a year, like I used to jokingly say, it's easier for a person with a job at McDonald's to get a bunch of credit cards than it is for a person who starts their own business. and I mean this, y'all. I mean this because they're basically betting money on an unknown entity. They know McDonald's will be there. They know the average 99% of the population has a job. You don't have a job. You are a person coming in with no job. Okay, off the rip, flag 1. Number 2, your credit's not perfect. Okay, well, does your business really make money? Can you pay your debt? You know what I'm saying? Like, so again, you're getting off. And thank you so amazing, and thank you, Anthony, for the super chat. You're getting all this pushback because that's the nature of banks, is to say no. And banks have said no so much that they're about to go the way of the dodo bird, and we're just gonna have a bunch of peer-to-peer lending and come corporates running to each other. But that's the nature of business. They're taught to look for red flags. So
Right.
then Clint right here comment. He said, funniest thing is, if you're going to find thriving Blacks in California, they're either in San Diego or Sacramento due to military or public sector industries.
Yeah, as far as the military and yeah, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's a way. But if we're talking about business, this not really the Black Mecca for for business. Business, the closest place you can get is in Southern California would be Los Angeles, and then around the country we're talking about Georgia, Texas, Chicago, Maryland. These are where I get a ton of calls all the time, never fails. Even sometimes in Jersey, places like this. Not really out here, but yeah, as far as military and stuff like that, yeah, absolutely.
Again, it's a guarantee. My mom, 26 years military, house, cars. People are like, oh, how is that possible? Because they know for one thing, the military gonna pay you, and two, they'll call a report on you if you don't pay. And people need their security clearances, so that's why they know they'll get you up here. Okay, someone had a couple in here. How do we maximize our personal? I always tell people get all that crap off of it, but go ahead.
Yeah, that's number one, is get all that crap off of it. The second thing is come to our program, join and take part in that. But I'll say as a short answer, build it out. Even if you don't, right? Build it out naturally. Don't get fooled into thinking, okay, I'll put this. I'll try to save people as it pertains to that, because I'm going to see a lot of this. Don't get fooled into thinking that you can buy a whole bunch of authorized users and go in there and think that they're going to, okay, there's 2 warnings with this. So I'm glad yeah, the trade line, throwing on the trade lines. First of all, that gets scratched off immediately in underwriting. I mean, don't even waste.
What about business trade lines then?
Yeah, that's not going to work either. So, okay, I'm going to answer both these in a tandem. On the personal side, keep in mind also FICO 10 is coming, and it's going to be FICO 10 and FICO 10T. FICO 10T is about trending data. Trending data means that they're going to look at basically they have a 2-year snapshot of your profile. So if you didn't have those trade lines on that profile 2 years ago, you're SOL, and they'll be able to see through all that even easier. These things are coming later in the year. Okay, so all that is dead by default, even if in theory they did take it into account, which they don't. They take it off underwriting, but this is going to be even effective on the personal side. So even on the personal side, the finesse is going to decrease. On the business side, I like to make people think of this. If you have, there's two things that have to be said. Let's say you have $500,000 in business lines of credit and loans on your trade lines, okay, on the business side. But your credit, they go over to your credit and you got even if it was good credit, you got a 720 that has a couple of lines of credit on it and a 98 Toyota Corolla. They're not stupid, okay? They've been doing this just picture an old man in there who's been doing underwriting for the past 20, 25 years. And his main job in life and main pride is to tell you no. And he's getting paid 6 figures. He might be getting paid multiple 6 figures just to tell you no. And he loves it. He gets his coffee in the morning and he takes his sips, he looks at the files, and he's just like, oh no. That's number one. The second is think about the flows of money that has to be shown when you're going through, depending on how much they're going to dig into it. And they should be digging into it, especially if you got trade lines for a ton of money and you're asking for a lot of money. Do you think that they're going to look for the money flows into that line? They should be looking for the flows of money that should be paid into that loan or line of credit on your financials. If they're being prudent. So they're going to be looking at that. They could call for a reference. Hey, we're just calling for reference on this loan here, so on and so forth. So then those are two issues. Then if those are issues, then you might run into an issue with the IRS, because they might say, well, you have these things reporting and we see these money flows. I mean, where is all this coming from? So you have all these things that could happen as a result. And this is why I try to warn people nowadays. I've done everything. I've seen everything. It's different. It's different now. Different. And I try to get people in a state of mind to where not only can they accept the truth, but they can thrive by knowing the truth and then think about how to get around. It's kind of like racism, right? I know racism is a problem. Okay. So sad. I already know I've been through tons of racism. My whole thing is, okay, that's an issue. What can I do? What can I do to go through it or around it? What can I do to go through it or around it? And I try to get people to look at it the same way with credit. Yes, these are issues. These are the shortcuts that are going to cause you a lot of issues. It does cause you a lot of problems, long-term or short-term. And so we can't really consider these things. But here's the ways that we can get the same thing that you're trying to get done. Here's the ways that we get the same things that you're trying to get done legitimately. Right? So the main thing that I ask somebody, if they come in and they talk about trade lines or talking about something like that, I say, okay, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to get funding? It sounds like you're trying to get funding. The answer is generally yes. If the answer is yes, we're going to talk about how to get that funding you're looking for. We're not going to, the trade line is no longer a conversation. We're going to talk about how you can actually execute getting that funding, right? That's what I try to focus on. It's almost like whatever they say, it just kind of bounces off, and I'm like, what are you trying to do? Trying to get funding.
This is what I tell people. Are you trying to look for a bunch of credit cards? Because if that's what you're trying to do, like a quick online answer, yes, The trade line business is booming for that. So yeah, you'll always have people buying a bunch of trade lines and then try to go apply for a credit card and go through the online process. And if the computer doesn't catch you, it's like, oh yeah, sure, here's another 20K credit card because it's mirroring what you already have. Mm-hmm. But when you start trying to go, cannot apply for mortgages, that's mortgage fraud. You cannot apply for bigger loans because it starts, again, a lot of business techniques changed in the past year and a half.
Yes.
So you got to really build a real business. You got to really build a real business. You got to really get those trade lines, your personal what they call a primary line. Primaries now. Mm-hmm. You got to really do it. And what happens is the reason after my whole 2 years of credit, I was like, I'm done. I'm done talking to people about credit because it was a bunch of people who are in a burning house looking for a 20K save hope. When really what they needed was to put them 2 feet to work and go make some money. Because that was the only way to make it out.
Even some of those techniques that people have traditionally used, those are either dead or dying. Mm-hmm. And fast. They're not, they've got hip to it. That's what I just see FICO 10 as the, all right, let's wrap it up, changes. Yeah. It's like, we got it, we caught up, we get it now. All right, you had your fun. That's how they're looking at it.
And people are like, people saying I'm being a hater and I'm telling people's business online, but I'm like, no, seriously, like people are here trying to sell you shelf corps and all this other BS. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to lie to you. There's no point. I don't want you to come back in here and be like, well, Ericka said, nah, Ericka ain't never said that. Like, let's get it twisted. Ericka always trying to bring you somebody who can help you walk through a program and get you where you need to be because things have changed. The cheese has moved. We're about to have a wealth transfer. Money's gonna be moving around, and you better get where you need to be in position, pay your taxes, and keep it moving.
Yep. And if you prep now, this is actually kind of like the little last frontier, so to speak. In a few ways, this is the last run for the credit scoring model to be the way it is. This is the last year, really. This is tons of wealth transfers are happening. We were talking about wealth transfers the other day. I mean, damn, there's too many. I get overwhelmed.
Get in that high-paying career you want to get now. Get that business started with the business bank account now, because in 2-3 years, when you try to apply for a home, when you try for a lot of things, it's just not gonna hit the same. And I'm trying to tell you, it's gonna be different.
Yes. To second that, also, late payments and stuff like that, those are going to start being even scored even more harshly. They already score those harsh. I've seen clients get beat down 100, 110 points off of late. So they're talking about turning that up. Yeah. So they're turning up. So the derogatories basically are going to hit harder than before. And then the trade line thing is getting killed off. And then on top of that, the way you take loans on a person needs to be very calculated, because they don't want you having loans and then charging up cards right after. You need everything.
Read that. Read that. Oh man.
Exactly. Dave, thank you. Dave, I tell people this all the time. They hire, like exactly like you said, these banks have hired the best mathematicians, all this stuff.
Actuarian, which I tried to be. You guys, coming out of college, that's what I was trying to be. Never mind. We'll talk about it another time.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that was something I was like,
I love this. This should be staying up here. This should be staying up here for an extended period of time. They're paying people people, you guys can go research this. Look up the highest levels of credit analysis and all this kind of stuff where people are getting hired for highest levels of underwriting. Just look up what they get paid. They're paying these people to tell you no. You think you're gonna trick them with some my jewelers club and What's the other one? Zone Coast New Direct and some trade lines. Really? Come on, guys.
It will only work. I'm telling you, it's only going to work to get you a few credit cards online, maybe a Chase card, maybe a Navy. Like Navy Federal come up with their own rules because they don't even care no more.
Yeah.
It's going to come up with you a few credit cards, maybe a 20K from Fidelity, maybe a 25K from Chase, maybe a Discover, but that's it. And then you got to really, like, I'm telling you, I'm this credit group, and that's the personal side. Where you'll use that card, and you better use that card to get you into whatever business you're trying to do, because that's all you're gonna get.
Yeah, on the business side, on the business side, they just cut that off. They don't even consider it on the business side. That's why I try to warn people about is on the business side, they don't count that at all. They scratch off AUs are not a factor. Mm-hmm. So it's CPN. I don't even.
The CPN is bad because it's just like, you know what you're doing. This is real deal time coming for a bunch of folks. Like they just found out like $30 million that they sent out to New Hampshire farms for chicken farms didn't exist. Somebody just was like, this is a lot of chicken farms in this area. Drove the area, not their chicken farm over there. Mm-hmm. And the PPP, they got people get crazy with this. I'm like, y'all, this is where y'all get.
Yeah, when somebody calls me asking about CPNs, I'm like, this is what I say. They say, hey man, what you think about CPNs? This is why I used to be on the phones a lot. I'm not on the phones as much as I used to be, unless it's paid. But they say, yeah, what's going on with the CPNs? I say, we don't want to get involved with that at all, unless you want to go to jail. Unless you want to go to jail, you can mess with some CPNs.
So Tanya, I'm gonna tell you right now, get an actual accountant. CYA, consult your attorney, consult your accountant. No matter what we tell you here, Tanya, you need an accountant. You can't just play this game. I promise you, you don't want to play the game. Can business owners pay themselves on paper only? No, don't play that game. Take out taxes, but not actually cash payroll check. I only want to show income tax to buy a home. That's going to be one of the most diligent processes you'll ever go through. Go find a mortgage lender and let him talk to you about what you're going to need to show to qualify. Then I want you to go second to an actual accountant and tell them what you're trying to do, because what they're going to do is try to go back and amend your taxes for 2 years so you can qualify for a mortgage with your business. So, I mean, we're not accountants, we're not attorneys. Like, go straight there. Geek surgeon, I'm gonna go off for 1 second. Stop. CPNs are legal. No. You know where you get your CPN from? Attorneys. You know who gets CPNs? Federal snitches, celebrities, Congress members. If you're getting your CPN from Pookie and Ray Ray and them, you deserve to go to jail because you're stupid. That's just all I'm gonna say. They're legal. They're legal for federal snitches. They're legal for Congress members. They're legal because those people get them directly from an attorney. 9 times out of 10, when you have really bad identity theft or problems, the Social Security Administration will offer you a new Social Security number. But guess what? Even that doesn't stop some of those old accounts from coming on. They're for federal snitches. Y'all keep thinking I'm joking. Go look up the dude who just was in the movie, the Black Judas. They have CPNs for people like him. So people ain't trying to find you and beat you over your head and kill you. Okay? So again, I'm not trying to be funny, but I get so exhausted with Black people trying to say, but that's legal. 9 times out of 10, you know where you're getting it from? A dead child or somebody's child whose information is out there in a medical center and got out. And when they lock you up, I go, that's what you get. Because you're going to ask your Aunt Rachel to give you a CPN. Man, get out of here. Scram. Get out of here with that, man. It just wears me out. I'm sorry. I'm going to calm down. Because that's the one thing Black people are like, but I see someone else doing it, whites or whoever. Negro, it's not for you.
Right.
Did an attorney give it to you? Did you go to federal court and snitch on somebody? Then they should have provided you for that as part of your protection practice. That's it.
We try to be the shortcut kings. Ericka,
is there a way I can go get a tech job tomorrow without doing any damn thing? No. I don't have any of that for y'all. And again, this is why I know people are harping on me and getting mad that I don't just talk about business, but a lot of y'all need a job. Like, just y'all need certifications, SNS consultant to do your resume, and a job. If y'all can get 2 years stability there, all these other doors would open to you. But you're trying to figure out how to not even do the job part, not even do the resume part, not even pay the bills part. I'm going to just get credit repair and get everything wiped off. You just suppressed it. It ain't gone. It's suppressed.
It's a Band-Aid.
Huh?
The Band-Aid.
Yeah. You're shot in the chest. Give me a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
You know me right here. I'm like, boo, I need you.
That's a very, 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 very good point. Work for a couple of years. Work for a couple of years and come back out strong. That's a great practical way of looking at it. And it's what a lot of people need to hear. I think people get enthralled by kind of just being out here and just doing it.
They see it. They want it and they see it. And really what you say, here's what I hear when people say, well, that person's doing it. You think you're smarter than that person. That's what you're saying. I'm smarter, better than that person. How come they got this thing? I should get this thing. And we can apply to relationships, life, everything. You think that woman's not as good as you, or that man's not as good as you, so you should have what they have. No, the only thing guaranteed out here is your actions, not the results. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody said, I know people in their 50s who want quick credit fixes because they want to buy a house tomorrow. It don't work.
Yeah.
If someone's still looking into CPNs in 2021, this channel going over your
head. Yeah,
tell them your website again. Tell them your website where they can find you on social media so we can wrap it up.
Yep. It's www.diamondcutmedia.com. Instagram is Diamond Cut Media. TikTok is Diamond Cut Media. Yes, I'm on TikTok. Anybody who's trying to grow their business right now and are sleeping on TikTok, don't sleep on it. TikTok will be Instagram later. And YouTube's Diamond Cut Media. Starting the YouTube back next week. And Ericka knows that already. But yes, those are all the places.
I love it. So same thing is, man, if we put as much time and energy into actually doing things properly as we do to try to get a shortcut and get over, we could have everything we want more. Honey, these people spend 10 years of their life trying to be a basketball player at 5'5".
Yeah.
10 years. They'll invest everything. They'll go get a Brazilian butt lift but won't do one workout. It's getting ridiculous out here. So anyway, I love y'all. I appreciate the show. Diamond Cut Media on everything. His Instagram is amazing. Check it out. Diamond Cut Media. Thank you so much for being on. People inside the right 20%. Y'all got deep information. People out here on YouTube, you got free information, okay? And it was still good. So have a good day, and we'll definitely talk some more after this. All right, later, man.
All right, later.